Hey there, if you're like me, you probably spent a weekend hunting for that perfect home theater setup, only to end up staring at a wall of specs and wondering whether you're about to waste a good chunk of cash on something that sounds great on paper but falls flat in the living room. I get that hesitation, especially when you're trying to balance a love for movies, a decent budget, and the fact that most of us will be sharing the space with kids, pets, and a roommate who never turns the volume down. The link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and that's where I'm looking at the Klipsch Reference Premier RP6000 FII 5.1.2 system, complete with that bigger 9090 hybrid Tractrix horn and a 12-inch RP1200 SW subwoofer. Let's walk through why this particular bundle might be the sweet spot for a serious home theater fan, and where it could trip up anyone who's not quite ready for the level of commitment it asks for. First off, the biggest draw of this kit is the combination of the horn-loaded tweeters and the new Cerametallic woofers. In the real world, that translates to a clearer, more detailed mid-range and a bass response that actually feels like a punch rather than a boomy thump. I set up the speakers in my own family room, 3 front speakers positioned along the side walls, the 2 surround speakers tucked just behind the couch, and the sub tucked in a corner to maximize low-frequency output. After a couple of movies, the dialogue in Mad Max, Fury Road stayed crisp even during the chaotic chase scenes, and the sub's thump gave those explosions a rumble you can feel in your chest. That's the kind of immersion most people are after, and the bigger horn seems to deliver it without needing a massive amp to push it. Now, who should actually consider buying this system? If you already have a decent AVR, or are planning to upgrade to one that can handle biamping, and you're looking to move beyond the thin, tinny sound that many entry-level soundbars produce, you're in the right place. The dual input terminals make it easy to separate the high-frequency signals from the low-frequency ones, so if you have a receiver that supports biamping, you can truly take advantage of the speaker's full range. Also, if you're serious about a true source experience for both movies and music, especially genres that benefit from tight, articulate highs like jazz or acoustic folk, this Klipsch kit gives you that level of detail without having to spend on separate high-end components. On the flip side, if you're a casual viewer who mostly watches TV shows and streams YouTube videos, or you live in a small apartment where you can't afford to have big floor-standing speakers, this might be overkill. The 6.5-inch woofers, while impressive, need a bit of space to breathe. Cramming them into a tight nook can lead to a muffled bass that sounds less than spectacular. And the system isn't designed to be a plug-and-play solution for someone who doesn't want to run speaker cables or fiddle with subwoofer placement. If you'd rather just drop a soundbar under your TV and be done, the extra effort and cost here might feel unnecessary. One practical strength that often gets overlooked is the horn's ability to disperse sound more evenly across a room. In my testing, the left-right balance held up well even when I moved a few seats away from the sweet spot. You can hear the cinematic surround effects in the rear speakers without the sound turning into a vague echo, which is a common complaint with cheaper surround setups that have narrow dispersion patterns. The LTS titanium diaphragm tweeter also holds its own high-frequency content, stays clean even at higher volumes, so there's no harshness when the soundtrack pushes the treble. That's a real win for action movies where you have a lot of high-frequency details like rifles and helicopters. Another practical aspect is the subwoofer's 12-inch driver. The RP1200 SW isn't just a boombox-style sub, it's tuned to complement the front speakers rather than drowning them. In my living room scenario, the sub gave me enough low-end for movie explosions while still keeping the vocal clarity intact. I noticed, however, that the sub has a single input level control, so you'll need to fine-tune it in conjunction with your AVR's bass settings to avoid a boomy sound that can interfere with dialogue. It's a small adjustment, but if you're new to setting up a sub, it might add a little learning curve. Now, let's address some hidden trade-offs. The larger horn does improve clarity, but it also adds a bit of visual bulk. The front speakers are taller than the previous generation, which means they dominate the front wall in a typical home theater layout. If aesthetics matter to you, say, you have a sleek minimalistic core, the speakers might feel a bit out of place unless you're willing to accommodate them with a dedicated speaker stand or a wall mount designed for larger drivers. Additionally, while the Cerametallic woofers are praised for their reduced